I was asked to be one of the mentors to Gresson Hall. So I've been up there for 12 years volunteering. I mean, I've been researching family history for 40 years, I think, roughly. It's one of those places that hooks you, I think. And I think it's literally because it is part of the community. In a city with thousands and thousands of people in a building must be so different. All our guardians there would have known who the families were. Prior to 1834, each county did what they wanted. So across the country it was completely different. So they centralised the system, which was the workhouse system. If you were a carpenter, for example, and you had all these tools, before you would be accepted into the workhouse, you would have had to have sold all your tools because they would have brought money in. But then you couldn't work as a carpenter anymore. What they quite often did was subsidise the wages, even though officially they shouldn't do, because they would have decided perhaps he was ill or something. If he was ill, he was allowed to be subsidised. And they paid him out relief so he could stay out and do a bit of work while it was available, and then could continue working. And so they met the requirements, but could tweak the rules to fit what was needed. There's people who have had relatives in who won't visit. And I just think if you're a woman with 10 kids, you can't feed them, you can't clothe them. Actually, for a small period of time, it's better than what you would have, which is absolutely nothing. So it's one of those really complex feelings. A year or so ago where you had all the lazy poor not wanting to go and work. Why should they get these benefits and that benefits when we're paying exactly what was happening 200 years ago? It is those headlines that you still get. We were starting with census. So when you start with census, obviously you then got to try and pick up all the things in between. And he makes use of the records, the minute books and the correspondence record. So he was actually a good one to choose. As a child, he would have stayed with his mother. If his mother stayed in, depends whether she left him in there or whether she stayed. But when he was born there, we've actually have him in the baptism record. So he was baptised in the chapel in the workhouse. And then obviously they had to make a decision about his lip. He was, 12 weeks old when they decided they needed to do the operation. So they wrote to the Poor Law Board to ask permission. The letter back was about 3 pages long. And they had to get permission from the mother. His mother might have been absolutely petrified about him having his hair lip done. But then to have it fixed, from her point of view, would have been a good thing. You then don't know whether she worries about it being done, because it's a major operation. You don't know whether it affected his speech. He's in 1891 and she's not, and the mother's not. So whether they sort of took ownership of him, I don't know. But he would have had an education. He would have been trained in basic shoemaking, because that's one of the things they did with the boys. Basically, they found him a position. So I'm transcribing some of the correspondence. There are over 60 proposals of service. So what they do is they write to the Poor Law Commission and say, can we buy this person clothes because they're going into service for a year with this person? Some of them have disabilities and these are their disabilities. Therefore, this is going to be a good thing because. So it's actually a conscious process by the guardians. They seem to try and match people to what they can do. The idea is if they pay that little bit of money and get them out there and working for themselves, they're not going to see them again because it costs more money to keep people in the workhouse than to send them outside. They've got his chest measurement and how much he can breathe out, and he's got proper eyes, perfect eyesight, which is good if he's doing the job he's doing. The shoemaking side probably needed very good eyesight. Mr. Matthews seems to have taken one boy a year from the workhouse at Gresson Hall. He was orphaned and he went and learnt his trade up in Yorkshire somewhere. So at a guess, he was apprenticed out from the workhouse himself. And they asked specifically why they were using them. A brilliant letter that was really, really good about how good he was with the boys. You get attached to them. There's several people come back who have started doing this who've said they've become part of their own family even though they've got nothing to do with it, not connected.